Hey, welcome back to the program. It's the 19th of January. So TikTok was taken down and now it's back up, thanks to one of the biggest flip-flops we've seen in politics in recent memory. When Trump was number 45, he wanted TikTok shut down unless it was sold to a US partner. TikTok, as you may know, is controlled by ByteDance, a Chinese company, therefore connected to the Communist Party and the PLA. Trump's concerns were based on national security over the metadata, GPS data, a propaganda tool used by the Chinese to sway American opinion. Think young Americans as they dominate the 170 million odd US users. The Supreme Court did not interfere over the weekend to stop the legislation passed by the US Congress requiring ByteDance to sell or shut down by January 19, 2025. That legislation was supported by Trump. The court held this did not violate free speech rights, that is to say, shutting down TikTok. Obviously, there's many other avenues for free speech beyond TikTok. Now that Trump has an account with TikTok and over 10 million users, followers, and he credits his son for helping him secure the youth vote, which included widespread use of social media and podcasts, he's against the ban. He announced he would sign yet another executive order. Are we still a democracy? To extend the date required by the legislation for ByteDance to divest. Trump wants a China-US partnership established for the business, which is really what was the incentive of the legislation to try to get that done, but it did not happen, obviously. America's youth could certainly benefit from one less social media platform, don't you think? Whatever, I'm not a user, though the national security concerns are real and should be taken seriously. TikTok stars and users shared their dismay about the shutdown over the weekend, lamenting loss of income, exposure, fun, etc. Trump gave him a reprieve with his posting on Trump's true social media platform. But there is an important lesson here beyond the discussion about whether we should ban it or not. And it's just not TikTok. If you earn a living off of a social media platform, you have financial risk. If you're one of those that do so, keep this in mind. You have risk every day with respect to your social media platforms, your influencer platforms. It could be as simple as a broken cell phone for a day or two. It could be more meaningful, like a loss of electricity for some extended period of time, or a foreign rival gaining information and influence. So to the extent you earn your living off of TikTok, you should have been well aware of the potential risks to making money off a platform controlled by our foe, China. And so always keep that in mind. Anyone earning money off the internet, a loss of electricity is all it takes for your business to be disrupted. The president can't ignore laws passed by Congress and signed by the president, by the way. He can delay enforcement of laws for only so long. Keep in mind, what is good for national security should never be outweighed by young people being upset that they can't see more videos. That's for sure. But that seems to be the motivation for Trump on this flip-flop. Little segue to the fires in California. Devastating. My goodness, the images and pictures coming out of the LA area, Pacific Palisades, and surrounding areas, just devastating. I'm sure many of us have done this. Try to put yourself in that position. Losing your home in a fire, suddenly losing your home in a fire. Losing all or most of your possessions, mementos, pictures, letters, heirlooms, pets. You know it. You know what we can lose. All of our stuff, awful. To be made homeless, awful. To lose someone, 27 people have died. And I suspect that number will probably rise. Many impacted will have the means to manage this better than most. Many have other homes. Even so, a life-changing event. Remember, we had this in Hawaii a couple of years ago. Joe Biden went to both scenes and made an ass of himself, by the way. If you saw this recent trip to California to mollify the concerns and anxieties of Californians, and he talked about himself and that he became a grandfather. He didn't tell about his kitchen fire again, thank goodness. But still devastating stuff. A lot to be sorted out, a lot of financial things to be sorted out. How much is the taxpayer going to be on the hook for this? Obviously, we want to provide support, but homeowners have risk. They built their homes in a risky area. They had insurance. They didn't have insurance. Insurance companies have risk. Anyway, let's be sure about a few things. This wasn't global warming, the go-to source of all problems in life today. No, it was not global warming. In case you forget, the lower two-thirds of California has been and is an arid desert-like environment, dry and fire-prone. Winds coming off the Pacific. It's been this way for the region's life. Only mankind's engineering prowess allowed for Southern California to become home to so many millions. The Santa Ana winds are a known weather pattern. Fire seasons are a known weather pattern. Forest management was done by necessity in order to reduce the damage done by fires. No, it was delayed response to the initial fire, mismanagement of government officials, sustained powerful Santa Ana winds, too much underbrush, lack of adequate water supply, bad luck. All get on the list of how this happened, this devastation. It's not so much that we had a fire, it's how much the fire took out. Over 12,000 structures. But another element of this story has got my attention and other people's attention. And it was about who was in charge and how much money they earned. Have you seen some of these numbers? In economics, we talk about public goods. A public good is a good that is non-excludable and non-rivalrous. A good everyone in society can use without reducing the availability of that good to others. Public goods are paid for by taxes from households and business. Private providers of stuff that governments provide were not incentivized to provide those goods because they could not make a profit, given that they're non-rivalrous and non-excludable. So they don't provide those goods and services. Therefore, the governments have to. National defense is an easy example to consider. Fire departments another. And public goods are delivered by public servants. The idea is that public goods and services provided by governments will be less costly than if they were provided by private market forces because profit is not a motive. Until the late 1990s at the federal, state, and local level, public employees, teachers, police, fire, government workers, and the like were paid less than private sector workers with similar skills. Again, because they were paid for from taxes. And those prices had to be kept down to do right by taxpayers, to be efficient for taxpayers. These public employees were incentivized to take government work because of the promise of a pension. Think of the cop who only has to work 20 years to get that pension. Not anymore. Now government workers on average make more than private sector workers. And the government workers still have their pension plans, but private sector workers are stuck with the riskier 401k. I bring this up because the stunning examples of this we find related to the California fires and the response to those fires. Christine Crowley, the LA Fire Department fire chief, makes $440,000 a year, including benefits. Kristen Larson, head of the Los Angeles Fire Department Equity and Human Resources Bureau, makes $300,000 a year, including benefits. And the stunner, Janice Quijones, the CEO of the Department of Water and Power, earns $750,000 per year. That salary is just increased by 100% last year by LA Mayor Karen Bass. These three are at the center of the storm regarding the apparent lack of readiness and preparedness for the 2024-2025 fire season. LA Mayor Bass makes $300,000 a year plus benefits and perks. California Governor Newsom makes $225,000 a year plus benefits and perks. When salaries go up like this, so do pension costs. Unfairness around this area is what will drive anger for voters. Let's make a rule. No government employee at the federal, state, or local level can earn more than the President of the United States. How's that? Right now, that's $400,000 a year. Lack of oversight, lack of accountability, politics, self-interest has led to many government employees earning way more than the president, way more than private sector workers. This is going to have to be addressed, something that should be on President Trump's radar. Think of the Doge Committee. All right, let's move on to the inauguration tomorrow. It's Trump time tomorrow. Thankfully, brings an end to the Biden presidency. It wasn't good. Biden, who promised a smooth transition, who said he wanted to unite the country, has done neither. Just consider what he has done since the election. More student loan forgiveness, further flouting the Supreme Court ruling to stop doing so. He updated the order of succession, ensuring his hand-picked people will lead government departments between the time his cabinet appointees resign, as they must once Trump takes office, and the time Trump's cabinet nominees are confirmed by the Senate. Biden's spending spree. Even though he just incurred a $2.4 trillion deficit in 2024, he continues to pump more money into his favorite spending legislative packages: the American Rescue Plan, the Infrastructure Law, the CHIPS Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act. All have been accelerated. He sent more money to Ukraine, more money to the World Bank, a ban on gas-powered water heaters, all by executive order, mind you, nothing to do with Congress. Knowing Trump promised to reduce the size of government, Biden has made it more difficult to fire federal employees by strengthening existing rights for federal workers and civil servant protections. It's going to make them hard to fire, basically. In fact, Trump will need Congress to get around this. It won't just take a simple executive order. Biden unilaterally put 625 million acres around the continental U.S. off limits for offshore drilling, not by executive order, mind you, but via the 1953 Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act. Again, Congress would have to get involved to reverse this. Oh, and by the way, Joe, as you leave tomorrow, just a reminder, you can't just declare a new amendment to the Constitution. There is no 28th Amendment, no matter how much you say there is. The expiration for 38 states ratifying the ERA was in 1980. Congressional archivists could have told you this, as they told the public on more than one occasion. Anyway, back to Trump. Things can only get better for sure, though there are reasons for concern. My concerns are about immigration. I don't think Trump will follow through on his campaign rhetoric, and illegal immigration will continue. More illegal immigration will come, and deportation will be minimal. Taxes. Bad proposals. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, a whole bunch of moral hazard here and fairness issues. Not a fan, don't like it. The TikTok flip-flop, of course. Budget deficits and debt. There was a lot of talk of DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, but the renewal of Trump's 2017 tax cuts, his new tax cut proposals, his new spending ideas will swamp what DOGE can do. I see more deficit spending and more debt during the Trump years. The debt ceiling issue will be front and center week one for Trump, and I believe he will cave and increase the debt ceiling. The Ukraine war will not be over on Tuesday. Remember, he was going to end the war on day one. That will not happen. He agreed to the Hamas-Israeli ceasefire deal that will help Hamas but hurt and hamper Israel, though there's no denying the joy and clearly positive nature of some of the hostage returns. His cabinet picks, while interesting and loyal, largely are inexperienced for the roles they are filling. His embrace of cryptocurrencies, coins, and NFTs in the tech sector generally are a concern. These are Ponzi schemes, get-rich-quick schemes. And he's getting rich quick on them. He just released another coin the other day, went up something like 1,600%, 1,600%. Does he support the central bank digital currency? Let's hope not. While eliminating the Department of Education is the right move, I think he'll chicken out. And if he tries to, I don't think he'll put up a good fight. He won't get Greenland without the military and more spending. He won't get the Panama Canal back without more military and more spending. And by the way, what influence will Musk have on him regarding EVs? Because he's not been a fan of EVs. He's not a fan of the EV mandates, and he's not a fan of the EV subsidies to consumers. His policies as proposed are inflationary. He is a lame duck president. Will he piss off the left to satisfy the base and do everything he said he was going to promise to do? Or will he piss off his base to satisfy the left? You know, for posterity, for popularity, for being liked, for historians. He has a chance to put America back on the track in a lot of areas and restore America's strength and prosperity for years ahead. But it's going to require a fight, mostly in the courts. We are in a low-growth economy, largely driven by household and government debt, GDP 2.5% level, with an ongoing inflation problem, rates of inflation at the consumer level, high 2%, low 3%. Unemployment at long-run averages, so around 4.5%, 5%, though the makeup of the jobs in the labor force right now is not good. Lots of part-time jobs, lots of multiple part-time jobs, not much full-time job creation. The stock market near record highs driven by Fed policy and rhetoric that is bubblicious, but still having a great wealth effect on the economy. We have a federal budget battle for fiscal year 2025 to complete, a debt ceiling to manage, and a period of relatively high global instability. We need a strong executive branch now. a president who's in control and leading on their own. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that's Trump. And I'm hoping my concerns I just suggested don't come to fruition. All right, that's all I have for you right now. Always try to buy American.